Welcome back to Sleepy Sycamore, where we explore the peaceful wonders of the natural world. Tonight, I want to tell you about one of nature's most charming creatures. Picture a small animal, about the size of a house cat, with russet fur and a ringed tail, living in the misty mountains of the Himalayas. An animal so endearing that when people first see one, they can't help but smile. This is the red panda, and though its name might suggest otherwise, it's not actually a panda at all. It's something entirely unique, a living remnant from millions of years ago, adapted to life in some of the most beautiful mountain forests on Earth. These gentle creatures spend their days munching on bamboo in the treetops, moving with an almost lazy grace that's absolutely captivating to watch. Tonight, we'll discover what red pandas really are, how they survive in their mountain homes, and why these remarkable animals need our help now more than ever. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's journey together to the cloud forests where the red pandas live. Now, when you hear the name red panda, you might think they're related to giant pandas, those black and white bears we all know and love. But here's where things get interesting. Red pandas aren't bears at all. In fact, for the longest time, scientists couldn't quite figure out where to place them in the tree of life. Some thought they might be related to raccoons because of that beautiful ringed tail. Others wondered if they might be part of the weasel family. And yes, some did think they could be related to giant pandas. Isn't that something? Here we have an animal that puzzled scientists for decades. It turns out red pandas are so unique that they have their own family all to themselves, called Ailuridae. They're the only living member of this ancient family, like a single branch on the tree of life that stretches back millions of years. The red panda actually got its name first, you see. When giant pandas were discovered later, they were named after the red panda because they shared a similar diet of bamboo. But that's really where the similarities end. Let me paint you a picture of what a red panda looks like, because they truly are one of nature's most beautiful designs. Imagine an animal about 2 feet long, not counting the tail, weighing maybe 10 to 15 pounds. Just the perfect size to curl up in your lap if they weren't wild animals, of course. Their fur is a rich, reddish-brown color on top, almost rust-colored in the sunlight, with a darker, almost black belly. That thick, luxurious fur isn't just for show. Up in those cold mountain forests, temperatures can drop well below freezing, and that dense coat keeps them wonderfully warm. And then there's the tail. Oh, that tail is something special. It's nearly as long as their body, covered in those distinctive reddish rings, 6 or 7 of them usually, alternating with lighter bands. They use that bushy tail like a blanket, wrapping it around themselves when they sleep in the trees, keeping their face and body nice and cozy. Their face, now that's where you really see the charm. They have these large, pointed ears that stand up alert, always listening to the sounds of the forest. Their eyes are dark and forward-facing, giving them good depth perception for life in the trees. And here's a wonderful little detail. They have these white markings on their face, almost like tear tracks running from their eyes down to their mouth, and white patches on their ears and around their muzzle. Each red panda's facial markings are slightly different, like fingerprints, unique to each individual. Under all that adorable exterior, they're built for climbing. Their legs are short and sturdy, and their paws, let me tell you about these paws. They have sharp, semi-retractable claws that grip bark like you wouldn't believe. And on their front paws, they have what we call a false thumb, an extended wrist bone that helps them grasp bamboo stems. It's one of those happy little accidents of evolution that turned out to be absolutely perfect for their lifestyle. Now let's talk about where these beautiful creatures make their home. Red pandas live in a very specific part of the world, a narrow band of temperate forest running through the Himalayas and nearby mountains. We're talking about parts of Nepal, Bhutan, northern India, and southwestern China, with a small population in northern Myanmar. These aren't just any forests, mind you. Red pandas need what we call temperate bamboo forests, usually found at elevations between 6,000 and 13,000 feet. Imagine cool, misty mountainsides where clouds drift through the trees and the air is crisp and fresh. The temperature in these forests typically stays between 50 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just perfect for an animal wearing a thick fur coat. These forests have a nice mixture of coniferous trees like firs and spruces, mixed with deciduous trees like oaks and maples. And of course there's bamboo, lots of it, growing in thick understory beneath the taller trees. Here's what makes these forests so special. The climate is temperate with distinct seasons. There's a monsoon season that brings heavy rains, keeping everything lush and green, and a drier winter season. The forest canopy provides shelter from the elements, and the dense bamboo undergrowth gives red pandas both food and cover. They spend most of their time up in the trees, which is why they need forests with plenty of old growth, trees with strong, spreading branches perfect for an afternoon nap. You see, red pandas are what we call arboreal, which means they're adapted for life in the trees. They're actually most active during the twilight hours at dawn and dusk, though they'll occasionally move around during the day if they need to. During the hottest part of the day, you'll usually find them draped over a branch, belly down, legs dangling on either side, completely relaxed, conserving energy in the most charming way possible. Now let's explore what red pandas eat, because this is where things get really interesting from a scientific perspective. Red pandas are classified as carnivores, members of the order Carnivora, but here's the thing, they're almost entirely vegetarian. Isn't nature full of surprises? About 95% of their diet is bamboo. They'll eat the leaves, the tender shoots, and sometimes the bark. But here's the challenge with eating bamboo. Bamboo is incredibly low in nutrients. It's mostly fiber, tough and difficult to digest. And remember, red pandas have the digestive system of a carnivore, a simple stomach and a short digestive tract, not the complex, multi-chambered system that would be ideal for processing plant material. So how do they survive on such a poor quality diet? Well, they've adapted in some clever ways. First, they're very selective about which parts of the bamboo they eat, choosing the most nutritious young leaves and shoots when they're available. Second, they have those false thumbs I mentioned, which help them strip leaves from stems with remarkable efficiency. And third, they eat a lot. A red panda might spend 13 hours a day just eating, consuming up to 20% of their body weight in bamboo daily. But even with all that eating, bamboo alone doesn't quite cut it. So red pandas supplement their diet with other foods when they can find them. They'll eat fruits, berries, acorns, mushrooms, and sometimes even birds' eggs or small rodents. These little protein-rich treats help balance out all that bamboo. They also eat flowers when they're in bloom, particularly rhododendron flowers in the spring. There's something almost meditative about watching a red panda eat. They'll sit upright, much like we do, bringing food to their mouth with their front paws. They'll carefully strip bamboo leaves from the stem, or delicately nibble at a berry, taking their time, savoring each bite. Because they get so little energy from their food, red pandas have evolved to have a very low metabolic rate. They conserve energy whenever possible. That's why you'll often see them resting, sometimes sleeping up to 17 hours a day, curled up in a tree hollow or stretched out on a branch, that beautiful ringed tail wrapped around them like nature's perfect blanket. Let's talk about how red pandas behave, their daily rhythms and social lives. These are generally solitary animals. Each red panda has its own home range, an area of forest it considers its territory. For males, this might cover about 2 square miles, while females usually have slightly smaller territories. These territories often overlap, especially between males and females, but red pandas don't spend much time together except during breeding season. They mark their territory in several ways. They have scent glands on the bottom of their paws and at the base of their tail, and they'll leave their scent on trees and rocks throughout their range. They also have another charming behavior. They stand on their hind legs and rub their backs against trees, leaving their scent high up where other red pandas will notice it. If you could spend a day following a red panda through the forest, here's what you might see. As dawn breaks, they'd wake from their night's sleep, stretching in that languid way cats do. They'd begin grooming, licking their paws and rubbing them over their face and ears, keeping that beautiful fur clean and free of parasites. Then comes breakfast, hours of carefully selecting and eating bamboo, moving slowly through the trees or along the ground, always alert but never hurried. As the day warms up, they'd find a comfortable spot, maybe a tree fork or a hollow trunk, and settle in for a long nap. Come evening, they'd wake again, groom again, and spend the twilight hours feeding once more before settling down for the night. Red pandas communicate in several ways. They're generally quiet animals, but they do make sounds. They have a huffing noise they make when they're alarmed, almost like a sharp exhale. They twitter and chirp when they're content, particularly mothers with their cubs. And they have a huff-quack sound they make, which is exactly what it sounds like, part huff, part quack, and it's absolutely endearing. When threatened, which is rare, they'll stand on their hind legs and make themselves look bigger, raising their front paws in what looks almost like a boxing stance. It's meant to be intimidating, but honestly, it's one of the cutest defensive postures in the animal kingdom. Now let's talk about red panda families, because this is where their story gets especially touching. Breeding season typically occurs in midwinter, January through March. During this time, females become receptive for just a day or two, releasing scent signals that attract males in the area. After mating, the female will find a safe den site, usually a hollow tree trunk or a rocky crevice, and line it with leaves, grass, and small branches, making a cozy nest. The gestation period is about 4 months, though there's something called delayed implantation that can occur, where the fertilized egg doesn't immediately attach to the uterine wall, which can extend the pregnancy to nearly 5 months. In early summer, usually June or July, the cubs are born. A typical litter is 1 or 2 cubs, though occasionally there might be 3 or 4. The cubs are born incredibly tiny and helpless, weighing just 3 to 5 ounces, about the weight of a stick of butter. They're blind and deaf, covered in pale gray fur, completely dependent on their mother. The mother red panda is devoted to her cubs. For the first few weeks, she rarely leaves the den, nursing them and keeping them warm. The cubs' eyes open after about 18 days, and they start to hear around the same time. They begin to explore outside the den when they're about 3 months old, these little wobbly bundles of fluff, learning to climb under their mother's watchful eye. She teaches them everything: which trees have the best bamboo, how to climb safely, where to find water, what sounds mean danger. By the time they're 6 to 8 months old, they're weaned and eating solid food, though they'll stay with their mother for their first year, learning the skills they'll need to survive on their own. When they're about a year old, the mother will chase them away, gently but firmly, because it's time for her to prepare for a new litter. Those young red pandas will establish their own territories, and by 18 months to 2 years old, they'll be ready to breed themselves. In the wild, red pandas live about 8 to 10 years, though in captivity with good care, they can live up to 15 years or more. Here's something wonderful to consider about red pandas and their ecosystem. These animals play an important role in their forest homes. As they feed on bamboo, they help control bamboo growth, preventing any single species from taking over completely. They disperse seeds from the fruits and berries they eat, helping new plants grow throughout the forest. And as prey animals, though they don't have many predators, they're part of the food web that keeps the ecosystem balanced. Their main predators are snow leopards and martens, and occasionally large birds of prey might take cubs. But perhaps their most important role is as an umbrella species. You see, protecting red panda habitat means protecting entire forest ecosystems. The same forests that red pandas need are home to hundreds of other species of plants, insects, birds, and mammals. By conserving red panda habitat, we're conserving biodiversity on a grand scale. These temperate mountain forests are also crucial for human communities. They prevent erosion, regulate water flow, and help stabilize the climate. The forests where red pandas live are the watersheds for millions of people downstream. Now I need to share something with you that's difficult but important. Red pandas are endangered. Their populations have declined significantly over the past 50 years, and they continue to face serious threats. The biggest threat is habitat loss. These mountain forests are being cut down for timber, cleared for agriculture, and fragmented by roads and development. As human populations grow in the Himalayan region, the pressure on these forests increases. When forests are cut into smaller and smaller patches, red panda populations become isolated from each other, unable to move between areas to find food or mates. There's also poaching, though not on a large scale. Red pandas are sometimes caught in traps meant for other animals, and occasionally they're taken for the illegal pet trade or for their distinctive pelts. Climate change is becoming an increasing concern too. As temperatures rise, the cool mountain forests red pandas depend on are shifting upward in elevation. Eventually, there's nowhere higher to go, and the bamboo species they rely on may not be able to adapt quickly enough. The good news, and there is good news, is that people are working hard to protect red pandas. Conservation organizations are working with local communities to create protected areas and wildlife corridors that connect isolated populations. They're promoting sustainable forestry practices and helping communities develop alternative livelihoods that don't depend on cutting down forests. There are breeding programs in zoos around the world working to maintain healthy captive populations and learn more about red panda biology. This research helps inform conservation efforts in the wild. Local rangers are trained to monitor wild populations and protect them from poaching. And increasingly, red pandas are becoming a symbol of conservation in the Himalayan region, a charismatic species that helps raise awareness about the importance of protecting mountain forests. When communities see that the presence of red pandas can bring ecotourism and international support, they become partners in conservation rather than seeing wildlife as competition for resources. Let me share a few more fascinating facts about these wonderful animals that really showcase how special they are. Red pandas are one of the few animals that can descend a tree headfirst. They do this by rotating their ankle joints, allowing their back feet to point backward and grip the trunk. It's a remarkable adaptation. On cold days, they'll curl into a tight ball, wrapping that magnificent tail around their face and body, reducing their exposed surface area by nearly half. Their thick tail isn't just for warmth, it also helps them balance when they're climbing and moving through trees. Here's something that surprises a lot of people. Red pandas are related to skunks, raccoons, and weasels more closely than they are to either giant pandas or bears. They split off from this family tree millions of years ago and evolved independently. The oldest red panda fossils are about 3 to 4 million years old, found in Eastern Europe and North America. That's right, there were once red panda relatives living in what is now Tennessee. But over time, climate changes and competition from other species meant they only survived in their current Asian mountain home. In the wild, red pandas have adapted their behavior to seasonal changes beautifully. During monsoon season, when bamboo is lush and plentiful, they'll gain weight, building up reserves. In winter, when food is scarcer and temperatures drop, they become even less active, conserving every bit of energy. They've been observed entering a state of torpor on particularly cold days, lowering their metabolic rate even further to survive. Different populations of red pandas across their range have slightly different characteristics too. Scientists have identified 2 subspecies, the Himalayan red panda and the Chinese red panda. The Chinese variety tends to be a bit larger with more distinctive facial markings. Recent genetic studies suggest they might actually be different enough to be considered separate species, though this is still being debated. What's certain is that genetic diversity within red panda populations is important for their long-term survival, which is why connecting isolated populations through wildlife corridors is so crucial. There's something almost philosophical about red pandas that I find deeply moving. These animals have been quietly living in their mountain forests for millions of years, perfectly adapted to their niche, asking nothing of the world except bamboo and trees and the space to live their peaceful lives. They're not fierce predators or massive migrations or dramatic displays. They're gentle, solitary, content creatures. And yet, they're struggling to survive because of changes they had no hand in creating. When I think about conservation, I often come back to animals like red pandas. They remind us that sharing this planet means making room for others, protecting the wild places that remain, thinking about how our choices affect the intricate web of life. Every forest we protect, every sustainable choice we make, every bit of awareness we raise, it all matters. Future generations deserve to live in a world where red pandas still drowse in Himalayan trees, where mountain forests still stand, where the morning mist still drifts through bamboo groves. And so we've journeyed today to the cloud forests of the Himalayas, meeting one of nature's most endearing creatures. The red panda, with its russet fur and ringed tail, its patient eating and peaceful ways, reminds us that life finds remarkable ways to adapt and thrive. These gentle animals have carved out their existence in the mountains, perfectly suited to their world, a world we're privileged to share with them. I hope you've enjoyed this quiet exploration. If you'd like to help red pandas, consider supporting organizations working to protect their habitat. Even small actions, spreading awareness, making thoughtful choices, can ripple outward in ways we can't always predict. Thank you for spending this time with me here at Sleepy Sycamore. If this peaceful journey brought you some calm or wonder, I'd be honored to have you back for another. Until then, rest well, friends, and remember, there's always more beauty in this world than we can see in a lifetime.